So examinations are there, according to teachers, examinations are there to see how much you have learnt. Another way to put it is how much have you memorized?
Yeah, it's true though.
Not memorized.
Not really.
How much information you have, or how much knowledge you have acquired over this period of time.
Knowledge I have required, but do they ever think that, do they ever question, does the child know how to apply the knowledge they have gained?
You see, and this, I feel, is the role of the parent sometimes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So everyone memorizes stuff and all that,
Yeah.
but when kids approach a parent and asks the parent to explain certain things, if the parent can do that, and if the parent is knowledgeable enough, that's where the kid will have a deeper understanding of what
For sure. Yeah.
of what he has memorized or learned
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But many parents just leave it to the educators,
teachers,
you see?
yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why they just learn things superficially sometimes. Agree?
Agree.
I agree.
But it's really hard, you know. How many of us do factorization nowadays in our work? So it's hard to then explain to the child that this is applicable to, you know, our jobs or our professions sometimes.
Yeah, but some parents are just great. I mean, I've seen some parents, you know, the way they talk to their kids and explain certain kids, you know, explain to the kids about
things.
certain things, even like the rules of sport, you know, a particular sport or something in life. They simplify it.
They got no
Yeah.
patience.
No.
I think parents are good for things like general knowledge, because not necessarily do kids get that in school these days. Things like etiquette,
Yeah.
mannerisms, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Because not all parents are good academically as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
You know, things like math and science; those are all factual. Those may stay the same. But things like history, English, and stuff like that changes with the years. How it's being taught and all that. But yeah, so
And overall, like how well-rounded this
The child
person
is. Oh, yeah.
at the end of everything, right?
yes, yeah.
Hard.
But parents miss that. Parents miss that, and they are only focused on the A's at the end of the day.
But
And
that
that's
has been
a
our
very
society. That's
It
the way our
has.
society is built.
It has, but it has broken so many children.
Yeah.
And it caused so much of that anxiety, you know, within the child, or even, you know, traumatize the child in terms of learning, because they don't want to learn anymore.
It makes them hate school.
Yeah, but you know what? I think about this, right? You know, some parents. I mean, because there's nothing sweeter than to see your kid succeed, right?
Yeah, of course. But
So-
at what cost, though?
Exactly. No, but some kids can take it. You see, some kids can take it. Some kids can't. I don't know why that is the case. I don't think I agree with FD when FD says not all kids are meant to be A students. I think if you have a whole group of kids under, let's say, a really good teacher, they would all do much
well.
better, as opposed to a whole group of kids who are with
Under
a
a crap
teacher who
teacher.
maybe doesn't have,
Yeah.
you know,
It is true. I say the teacher has a
Environment.
lot to do
play.
with it. A lot to do with it.
The child may do better, but what I'm saying is we cannot expect every child to be a complete 100% A student.
No.
Some are not.
Some are not
I've
built
lived
for
with this with my
academics.
children. I
Yeah.
had a child who was not academic.
Yeah.
No matter how hard she tried,
but
she
maybe
was not
She
academic.
didn't have good teachers, maybe.
No, she had
That's why.
brilliant teachers.
Okay, so I was not academic, but that doesn't mean that I'm not smart.
Yes.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I may have had a good teacher, but at that point in time, I wasn't ready to learn. So I would say now I would be more ready to learn the same subjects, the same kind of topics. Yeah, I may be older, but I mean, I think different kids learn at different
Phases.
phases in their life
Yeah.
and at different speeds as well.
Yeah.
The teacher may be very good,
Environment
but
as well.
Environment, yeah, and it's all rounded. Sorry, Jerry, we're taking over your job here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's a very robust discussion, and a discussion that many parents, I mean, we take to the air, you know, what many parents want to discuss anyways. Yeah, but I agree. All of you have truth in what you say, right? But a child has different, all children have different personality. Each person have different personality and different preferences. So the child or the teen might not be a A in terms of academics, which is very prescribed, but might be an A elsewhere.
Yep.
But unless we give them an opportunity to express themselves, they will always be behind with everyone else because they've never got the opportunity to shine.
Yeah, or walk a different, slightly different path. They've always been just put on that with blinders on.
Exactly.
So this is
Exactly.
where I will be the nasty person. I wonder how many of these parents push their children. Yes, I want them to be successful. I want them to be a doctor, a lawyer, a politician. I want all this for my kids so that they will be successful, so that I can also say that my child is a doctor,
Yeah.
my child is an engineer.
Bragging rights.
It's bragging rights too, and some
Absolutely.
parents have
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
admit
I would be a
this.
parent like that.
For sure, yeah. A lot of parents are like that. You have something from Facebook, Sean?
Oh yes, and also, or else there is nothing to talk about during Chinese New Year.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. What does your child do? My child is like excelling here and there. What does your child do?
He's good
yeah,
at football.
Yeah. That's all right. Okay, what was on Facebook?
Faizola says, just now when we were talking about teaching our kids, she says, how to answer the kids with all the questions, the knowledge I've returned to my teacher already. She
Return to the teacher already. Okay.
different kids with different talents. Some may be good. Some may be good with their hands. Some may be more academically inclined.
Yeah.
Some are good in sports.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
different
true.
kids are.
Some may be blessed with voices
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
to sing or to talk.
Musically
Yeah.
inclined, yes. Yeah.
Parents need to teach their kids ethics, help to build good characters, guide them on their work as much as they need to understand what they are learning.
Yeah.
I like what Xiu Qing wrote. She says A in the heart. I
Yeah.
think we need to remind all parents to teach their children values above all. Whatever knowledge they have is zero if they don't have values.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Integrity, values, ethics, manners.
Yes. You know, I think in many ways you can actually push a kid without pushing the kid. You know, without pushing the kid to the point where the kid feels like he or she is being forced to do something.
Like motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
positive.
Because like when
vibes.
FD was talking about the whole, some parents and all that, right? Yeah, some parents, they push to the point where they're abusing the kid.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But there are ways to push,
Yeah.
without abusing
Positively,
the kid.
yes,
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 positively.
absolutely, yes.
And that boils down to management
The
as well by
parent.
the parent, right?
Parent
Yeah.
management.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Parent management, yeah. Dr. Jerry?
Yeah, I mean, it's shocking sometimes, when they push the child and then the children come with all sorts of signs and symptoms. One very common one is we see the children scratching
Yeah.
and scratching until they bleed or there's a wound there or they pick on themselves. Those that, stomach ache, nausea, we know the typical signs and symptoms of anxiety already. We spoke about hair pulling one time, trichotillomania.
Yeah.
Yes, they calm themselves by doing that.
Okay, Jerry, hold on. We'll go for a traffic update and then get back on the radio, okay? Stand by. You're tuned in to Therapy Tuesday with Dr. Geraldine Tan from the Therapy Room. Now, we were talking about something else on the Big Show TV early on, but I think just for the benefit of people who are listening to us right now, okay, on this topic today, what would you say to a parent who feels like they cannot leave their kid alone? Because what we're saying here is, give them space, just let them develop on
Don't
their
push
own.
too hard.
But what would you say to a parent who feels like they can't do that? They need to guide their kids somehow. We're talking about pushing without really pushing. What advice would you give to a parent who comes to you, Jerry, and goes like, I have to push my kid a little bit? Would you say okay, or would you advise the parent against that?
I actually would then explore the parents' own academic journey, because more often than not, they have created within themselves and in their minds that something will go wrong if they fail or if they don't do well, or it's been inculcated in them that it's something very bad and the world is going to end.
So you're talking about parents who may have gone through something negative during their academic journey, who will more than likely, create that situation that Glenn was talking about. But what about the ones that went through fabulous academic journeys? Are you saying that they won't push their kids as hard, or they will have high standards that where they tell their children, you have to be like me?
If the parent is well balanced and accomplished, they will teach their children to be well balanced to reach all the accomplishments. But if they are accomplished because they are filled with insecurities and fears, they would teach their children to be filled with insecurities and fears.
Okay. And what would you have to say to parents to recognize signs in themselves that they are pushing too hard? Because, we've heard a lot of stories about children who are pushed beyond the brink of a lot of situations, like you say, hair pulling, scratching, and we've heard of a lot worse situations. How do you stop the parents from pushing their kids beyond those limits?
One of the anxieties that I see is the parent wanting to go inside the room all the time. Quit opening the door. Yeah. You know what happens when you keep opening the door? You catch the child on their phones and on their computers. And the teens have always complained. I have been studying all the time. The second my parent opened the door, it's when I'm on the phone or on the computer on a different page. And I don't know why, but parents have a knack of doing it. And personal experience too. So my little boy was studying for an exam in the room, and then I opened the door to just see how he's doing. Lo and behold, he's on the phone. So I went, aren't you supposed to be studying? He gave me a very indignant tone and go, I just got on my phone. I was studying the entire hour and you didn't come in. And he brooded about it. The next day, he was still on my case that, Mom, I was studying, and when you came in, I was on my phone. So I don't know why parents have a knack of doing it. But I would say, quit opening the door. Trust your children.
I say confiscate the phone.
No, I think the biggest problem parents have is they feel that if they're not continuously checking on their children will be lazy.
Yeah.
Trust. That's the operative word. Jerry mentioned it. Trust your child.
Wouldn't it just be easy to leave the door open? And so you can just keep an eye on your child, you know what I mean? Just like, if you want to, you're that parent that constantly needs to see what your child is doing, then leave the door open and then,
Xiaomi sells these very good security cameras. That you can put in
I'm
the
sure
child's
there are
room.
some parents that
Yes.
have that.
But Jerry, I say take the phone away. I mean,
Yeah,
if the
that
person
is-
is supposed to be studying, right? Then take the
The
phone
phone
away.
shouldn't be with them anyway.
Yeah, like maybe in
Sometimes
the
you-
evening, give the kid the phone because the kid might want
You
to.
need what?
The phone to
For?
study,
Why?
like research.
Okay, stop it.
There, your
No.
computer.
No.
Your computer is there
And you
for
can
that.
still do the same thing on your computer that you can do on your
You
phone.
can
right?
block some
Yeah.
sites there as well.
Yeah.
I think it is a solution that I would have used in the past, early on in my career, right? I would advise the parents to take the phone away as a distraction. But unless the child is addicted to it, and we love to use this word very loosely, there's no need to take away the phone. Would you like it if I said you need to concentrate on your work, so please surrender your phone at the door and give it to Shalini, and after the whole thing, then you get it back? No, you wouldn't like it either, right?
Nobody's taking my phone away.
But look, every kid gets up to mischief on the phone. I don't believe they're all pure and
Of course
yes,
not, yeah.
I am only just using my phone right now.
No, I'm using the calculator.
No, we
Yeah.
were all kids once upon a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But
When
we
we-
learn how to balance, and we
I think if we were children at this age as well, we would be doing the same.
But there's a reason why kids do it. When we come back, I'll mention that.
Oh, okay. In the meantime, here's Ed Sheeran, Castle on the Hill.
Something that Prashant, who's an amazingly involved person on our show, has put up. But before that, you've got to remember that a child is in their room for, say, 2 hours at a stretch. They're not going to study for 2 hours.
No, they shouldn't
need
be.
to take breaks.
Yeah.
They're surfing porn
No,
No,
on their
they're
phones.
not.
Someone needs to say it.
No.
kids should only be studying at
No.
45 minutes per time,
time.
and then take a break
Take a
for
break.
like 5-10 minutes.
So you've got to remember, sometimes when you walk in and that kid is on the phone, the first thing you've got to think to yourself is the kid on a break? Stop pointing at the kid and going, you are not studying.
Yeah, have a
But
lot of
I would take the
patience.
phone away
Maybe
as
you
well.
guys
I
ever
would
thought
take the
about
phone
this.
away.
Maybe there's no one on the other
No,
side.
not on the phone like this.
Then-
On the phone like this.
Yeah.
Not on the
Playing
telephone
games
call.
and
Yeah,
stuff,
or
yeah.
whatever. Or looking
let
at
them
social
do it.
media.
Or
or whatever.
talking to
research.
someone.
No.
Whether they're talking to someone or playing a game, they deserve a break.
Give
They've
them a
done-
landline if they need to talk to someone. See if they can figure that out.
I don't know whether they'll know how
Whose
to
number
use it.
am I going to call? I don't even know numbers.
A landline.
But Jerry, here's the thing. Prashant put up something from evolutionaryparenting.com. I want to read it to you and you tell me whether this makes sense. Research has shown that formal education has virtually no bearing on general intelligence, and indeed limited bearing on specific components of intelligence, means that the push for formal education for all people may not be warranted.
But you need it to get along in life,
You
in
need it,
school,
right?
universities, and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
as much as we think that
Yeah.
none of the stuff we learn in school has anything to do with what we do today.
Exactly.
You still need it to
Paper.
have, you say, your
You need
doctorate,
that.
your
You need a
your
paper
PhD,
only.
your lawyers, bar, and all that. You need that.
You need
Yeah.
it.
You
But
need
in
it.
about 10 years, everything will change.
Jerry would not be where she is today
Exactly.
if she,
Without formal education.
Formal
Yeah.
education.
How
yeah.
do you want to be a minister if you don't have formal
can't,
education?
Yeah. There's, I mean, as much as we say, don't push them too hard, it is the reality.
So I mean, minister here in Singapore. Huh? Other
Yeah.
countries, I think there's some ministers with no education. I shall not mention which countries.
So, Jerry, what do you think?
Formal education is essential. It's a structured way of presenting knowledge to the child, and they learn discipline. They learn knowledge in a different environment, in a more conducive environment for formal or structured learning. That's why there is always play. There's always the parents to take the unstructured learning outside of school. That's where we talk about balance. But if the child only focuses on formal education, I agree, it takes them nowhere except downwards, a downward spiral in their mood, in their emotions, in their social skills, in so many other different areas. There's no more balance. So it has to be a 50-50 to encourage the children to go out, have physical stimulation, social stimulation, and these are all lacking if we only focus on tuitions, enrichment classes, and more tuition.
So when you say unstructured learning, that could also mean learning a musical instrument or doing some sports and stuff like that, right?
Or just doing things that they enjoy.
Enjoy. Okay, that's the key. Because I mean, a lot of parents, they pile on the extra, the ballet, the tennis, the piano, the violin, and the kid has no time to
Violin.
do anything else. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
Well, I would pile it on also on my kids, no, really.
true.
But
You
I
would-
would
you
make
would
sure
be that
they
parent,
take
yes.
up only the cool things.
Okay, but when they, Jerry, tell me if I'm wrong
Violin.
here. So you're saying, Glenn, your child would go to school.
Yes.
Your child would do all their
Would play
studies.
golf,
They'd play
play the
golf.
guitar.
For
play
sure.
the guitar.
No,
No?
not
No.
guitar.
Piano?
No,
Well,
not
let's
piano.
say they play golf. They take up a musical instrument.
The drums.
Whatever.
No.
Later in life, they're going to
should,
go through tuition as schooling becomes a little harder. Here's the question I ask you. At what point does your child have time to be a child?
When he tells me, Daddy, it's too much.
Really?
I can't take
You will
it.
listen.
I don't think you.
I would make sure my kid is expressive enough to tell me to stop.
That's the communication link
Yeah.
that
It's
you have
all
with
about
your child.
communication,
Yeah.
right?
It's very hard though. I mean, because you're not a parent, it's very easy to say this is what I'm going to do when I'm a parent.
Here we go again.
No, but it's
No,
true
no.
though. It is true. It is. Am I right? I can't be just talking out
No,
my ass here. I mean,
but,
it's true
but in
though.
my mind, that's the kind of parent
That's
I
the
want
kind
to
of
be.
parent you want to be.
Yeah.
How often does it happen though, Dr. Jerry? I mean, you're in the space that, parents say, I'm going to do this when I become a parent. I don't know if you've seen anyone from a non-parent becoming a parent and then not doing it or doing it. What would your take on that be? What have you seen?
So we all have a perception in our head, and we have all these ideals that we start off with. In reality, sometimes it's going to be very difficult. Your child is going to have different personalities, different characteristics. You might or might not be able to carry it out, and by that time, maybe you have a different set of perspective or a different approach to life. And you might want to approach it differently, and then you go, oh, actually I don't like this approach. I think the rule of thumb is parents are there to put in boundaries. That's what we are there for. We teach them, we give them the platform, we give them the guidelines, but we don't impose. That is very important. But many parents forget that we dominate their life, we push our agenda, and that's when the child gets stifled and crushed. So instead of pushing our agenda, what we want to do is really just put in a gentle boundary around what they can do, what they should do, and then navigate with them. I see FD in very deep thought.
And
Yeah.
Glenn is sort of got his eyes glazed over. He's like,
No,
you lost him at some point.
I'm in deep thought because of something Prakash Rai said on our Facebook page. He's been listening to you for a long time, Dr. Jerry, and he said, I tried this with my kid after listening to Dr. Jerry. He always wanted to watch television and play games. So now we allow him to do that before any schoolwork or revision. Whereas before, we used to make him do the schoolwork first and then play.
The reward.
And the reward first, followed by the work, seems to be working better.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
But Prashant, do you limit the time? That's the boundary that the parent gives. So a lot of parents forget and they say, I'll just let the child game and watch TV because that's what somebody else said, or we just follow this. But we need to put in boundary. So it means that we give them an hour and we stick to that hour.
Okay.
Stand by. We're going
Okay.
back on air with the traffic.
And what a great time I'm having listening to some of the comments and the parents here in the studio.
Yeah.
FD and Angel.
Yeah.
I think I'll be a very different parent actually. Yes. I would be the kind of parent you guys don't like.
Probably, yes.
You'd
yes.
be the male version of the tiger mom.
No,
Yes, exactly.
Not that bad.
I think you'll
think-
spoil
No,
this
I
kid.
think you would be a very giving parent.
Yeah.
You're like, just do.
I'll be just talking to the kid all the time.
Yeah.
So
Which is great,
which is
which
why
is
I'm
great.
very confident I would be able to communicate with my kid.
Yeah, communication
Because
is key.
that will be the most important thing
Yeah.
between the kid
Yes.
and me.
True.
Communication.
Yeah.
I know when I had my children, I wanted doctors, I wanted lawyers, I wanted everything else. But like Glenn, I opened up this communication challenge, this communication link, and I discovered that's not what my children wanted.
to be.
They didn't want to be doctors. They didn't want to be lawyers. And if I look at my children now, can I say any of my children are not successful? I can't. Because they're all successful. You know why?
Why?
Because they're all in jobs that they love doing.
And they're good at what they
And
do.
they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
So, my children are successful.
Yep,
that's
absolutely.
That's how I determine success.
It's
for
not
my-
in dollars and
But
cents.
that's the beauty, right? To each his own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are some parents who are, who don't think that way.
No.
And so they're
Yeah.
hard on themselves. They feel like, oh, I am a failure.
And
Yeah,
my
because
kid
my-
has to be rich. My kid has to
Exactly.
earn lots of money.
But there's
yeah.
nothing wrong
No,
with
there's
that
No,
as
there's
well.
nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's just that everyone's different. right?
Everyone has a different perception.
You know, Jerry,
Success.
earlier we were talking about how children manifest their anxiety. They pull their hair, they scratch themselves. We've all heard of the blades and
cutting.
cutting themselves. How do parents manifest this anxiety?
The helicopter part comes in where they hover and they hover, right? Some of the parents say my BP has shot up during the exam period. I have no idea why there's such a strong correlation between their BP and the examination period. I think it's scary because when they come, I see their lives revolving around their children, and not only revolving around the children, but also the grades that they get, as if they are being judged by the grades that the children are obtaining. Yeah. So if they don't get the A's, they are a failure. If they don't get into a certain university, they are a failure. So that is extremely scary, or it breaks them down. I mean, how can you live life just hovering and holding your breath?
Yeah.
You
So
know?
this is purely the parents, because a lot of them allow themselves to be consumed by society as well, and their peers and the circle of people they hang with. Like Shaun was saying, things like Chinese New Year and Christmas and gatherings. How is your child doing? Which university is your kid in? What grades did they get? Mine's a doctor, and
Yeah.
all that. And then parents allow themselves to be affected by statements and pressure like that. So it's not the children that have anything to do with this at all.
No, but they take the children's score and they compare whether it's a social setting, whether it's Chinese New Year, whatever it is, right? What's the PSLE grade? What's the O level grade? What's the A level grade? Or your child went to IP? Or your child went to IP? Like, what business has it got to do with the other person?
Yeah.
It's part of our tradition, isn't it?
Is it a tradition?
I think it's a Chinese
habit.
tradition.
No,
I
it's
think.
It's
not.
a habit. It's a habit. It's a terrible habit.
everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's not just Chinese.
It's a terrible
everywhere.
habit to have.
Yeah, it is.
Even with like, when are you getting married? How many children you gonna have? This and that. When are the kids coming and stuff like that? It's like, as Dr. Jerry says, like, what business is it of yours?
Yeah, it's no one's business.
It's like, it's
I-
true though.
I think one problem is the situation of I have failed if my child doesn't get grades.
Yeah.
The other situation, I think this is where parents really need help, is where do I put my face if my child hasn't got grades?
Yeah.
You see, it's about face.
Yeah.
Pride,
You're right.
is
Sometimes
ego.
it's about
That is
face.
the problem that parents need
and
to
and
deal
I think
with.
this affects like the Chinese families more.
The
Yeah.
Asian, I think
The
Asian,
okay.
Asian, yeah,
Yeah.
Asian more than Western.
Do you see that, Jerry?
It's actually a crossbar, but the Western parents are definitely far gentler with their children, and less pedantic about the grades that the children get, and definitely more balanced. I think in my line of work, it's very, very scary, because I always remind the parents, you would want to have your children there to coach them, to teach them, rather than not having your child there at all. Because it's one thing for the child to have a disorder and commit suicide, but it's another thing for the child to think that they have not done well and commit suicide.
Ah.
So it's a very heavy thought for myself. So whenever I see children having a lot of anxiety with regards to their academics, I would say, parents, please lift your feet off the accelerator pedal.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to leave it right here. Any last words, Jerry?
Yes, so I've got 5 tips, right? Be a parent, eat with them, ensure your children sleep, keep your voices calm, schedule their rest. So throughout the day, I love how FD said they need to take breaks and let bygones be bygones. I mean, if the child comes to you and say, "Oh, I forgot to do this question," or "I didn't study this topic," do not bite on it and hound on them. I'm going to quote something Alan de Botton wrote. He is a contemporary philosopher, and he says, to be a parent is to be chief designer of a product more advanced than any technology and more interesting than the greatest work of art.
Wow, that's
Wow.
a nice one.
It's a good one.
Good one.
Thank you so much, Jerry, once again for covering the topic exam and parents' anxiety today on Therapy Tuesday.
No worries. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.